Okay, so here is a general-ish rundown. It might take a little while for me to cover everything. Hopefully it won't take too long. This is a general rundown of how I manage my dyeability of textures. It's a little bit different from how the devs do it. The devs do it in a much cleaner way that doesn't take as long to put together, but in from what I've seen, it looks like my results come out just a little bit better because of how I do it. It's more complicated, um, but here we go. Okay, so the first thing you're looking at right now, this is what I'm working on in Substance Painter right now. We're using this outfit as an example here. It doesn't look very colorful, mind you, but this is all of my what I call my multiply layer. So all of this isn't generally what the outfit actually looks like, but this is every single layer that is multiplied on top of the full actual color that's going to be present on the outfit. So this is how you can create some depth in the costume that you're working on or whatever you're dyeing. So because you'll have your general color which is going to get applied on top of it. This that we were looking at right now is completely optional. You don't have to do it. If you're just going to go with base colors, then you really don't need, this is a step you can 100% skip. But this just generally adds a lot of depth and nice complexity to your end result. It makes it look very, very fine. So let's move on to the actual editor. So I don't have the actual file here. Let's not move on to the editor yet. Sorry, misspoke. Um, Generally, what I will do is whatever is one color on a model, whatever it's going to be, let's say, oh, I want this part of the shirt right here, this like kind of lightish pinkish part, let's have that be the same as like the cap, for example. I don't think that's how it's going to actually work out, but let's say that I want the same color for both of these. What I will do is I will assign a very specific either red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, or teal, or black or white color. So they're very highly contrasting, and they are full on like 100% red, 100% green, 100% blue, whatever the values are for that color. I don't go in between so that I can mask them out later, and it's a lot easier to separate them like that. So again, if we were talking about this shirt and the cap here, let's say I'm like, okay, I want these both to be the same color. I would start off with my basics, my R, G, or my B, and I'd be like, okay, let's make this red. And then I'd be like, okay, what about like the pants? Let's say the pants and the brim of that cap are going to be the same color. I'd be like, okay, well, I just use red, so let's use green or blue or whatever have you. And usually by the time you get all your colors assigned, you can't really go above, I think, 8 values, because there's not that many parameters you're allowed to use to dye, just because you're limited to how many the base game uses. But you can get pretty creative with what your textures are going to end up looking like. I don't have the file because I accidentally forgot to save it after I exported it, but you'll get to see what that looks like. Okay, so in the editor I've already imported some things, so we get to kind of skip that step. But first we need to look at what our parameter collection info is. So this is kind of what stores the values of what our basic colors are going to be and what like part of the dye it's assigned. So as you can see, I have 0 being pants, you have shoes. Oh wait, I have 2 things listed as pants. That's probably not good. I'll fix that in post. I don't think that's right. How did that even happen? Pants, dress, cape, orange. Huh. Yeah, we'll fix it later. But okay, so here's the deal. So you want to make each of these colors, it doesn't have to be in this particular order. It doesn't have to be pants, shoes, pants again, orange, dress, yada yada. It can be whatever order you need it to be in. It's not too important. What's important is that whatever you end up doing is that this alpha value for each of our parameters needs to be ascending in value. So take it, for example, my first value should probably be 0. My last value should probably be 1. And then every value in between it should be somewhere in between, like linearly scaling to make it simpler on you. If it's not like that, then it won't work. It just won't. So be careful with that. But don't assign your alpha values until you get your basic color values in, okay? Because whatever color you put in, it's probably going to override that alpha value. So once you have all your base colors in, like you're like, okay, I got my purple, I got my really hot pink, I have my light pink, I have my yellow, I have all my basic colors in here. You're like, okay, now that these are all in here, now I'm going to apply the different alpha values. I'm going to go 0, I'm going to go 1, and then I'm going to go 0.12, 0.25, 0.4. You can kind of jump between values of like 0.12, 0.15-ish. That's usually a pretty safe way to separate them all. But once we have that, make sure that you don't need to change it after that, because once you actually apply it in the material, it's just a pain. It's just a pain. If you edit these values at all while they're being used, the chances of you crashing the editor are 100%, unless you've just started the editor, in which you have a little bit of a window to be able to change it, but even then it's a little bit of a hassle because it really chugs. Okay, so here I have my material, and I've already put a couple things in here so that it's a little, so I don't have to like put all this stuff in manually. So what I want to do first, I want to copy the full name of my parameter collection in here, and I already have a player die node, which you can find if you go up here to the top right and type in player. You'll find the player die node, slap it in there, and then you'll click on it, and then in the default collection you'll paste that in there. I just did it twice, so let's undo that. So now it's running with my collection. So whatever alpha value I managed to put into this top node right here, it's going to spit out whatever color that alpha value is assigned. So I already made a bunch of my nice little alpha values here, and I didn't finish typing them all, so let's see if we can't finish that point. It should be like 0.85, then it should be 0.7, and then it should be 0.55, then it should be 0.4, 0.25, and then I had two more. One of them was 0, so we'll keep it at that. And then 0.12, I believe, were all my values. I'm not even sure if I was using alpha value 1 and alpha value 0.85, but we're just going to have these all here just in case. If you're unfamiliar with how this is currently set up, this is just how costumes, players, NPCs are pretty much work, especially for HackKid, especially with this player shader right here. You can find this function if you just go into any of the player's materials. You'll find this. Just set it up exactly like it is. You want to, if you're missing any of these on the actual output, then that means you need to set it to masked PBR in the material settings. I also have my normal map already set up and plugged in. I have my metallic and roughness plugged into a mask that's kind of running there. So we already have a little bit of something going on here, just no color yet. So that's what we're working on right now. So let's take a look real quick, since it's a little small right now, at our really nice RGB texture, as I like to call it. So this is running again with all of the brightest maximized colors, so they're highly contrasting with each other, and so they're really easy to separate out. You'll also notice that we have some places where the alpha is 0. I decided for this, for some odd reason, not really sure why, I guess I just was pretty brainless when this happened, is that I wanted to, since there's skin involved with this material as well, is that I wanted to make that alpha 0, because if I plug the alpha value into a 1 minus x, then that will give me like a texture where it's white where there's only skin, and it's black literally everywhere else. So that I can plug into the player skin color node, so that when the time comes, whatever player has the costume equipped, hopefully the skin color will match that player. Okay, but I digress. We're getting a little off topic here. So let's begin with our little dyeing process. So we have all of our values up here. We're going to need a lot of player dye nodes. So let's give ourselves a bunch. Just copy and paste it a bunch of times so you can reach in for them later. And we're going to need a lot of lerp nodes as well. And now we're going to back this up because this is going to be our major, this is going to be what kind of fuels this fire that we're using here. So let's get some component masks out here. And let's first separate these into red, green, and blue respectively. You can also use these little outputs on the texture. I usually like to use the actual masks so that I understand what I'm looking at. But you're more than welcome to use those outputs, and to my knowledge, it gives you the exact same results. But here is the problem now, is that if you're using any magentas, yellows, or cyans, and you're like, oh, I want to just affect my blues right now, but I don't want to affect teal, or I don't want to affect magenta. Your problem now is that whatever is blue at all, which includes your cyans and your magentas, it's going to show up alongside your regular just blues. So that can require some math. So let's see here. Do I have cyans? Yes, I do. Do I have magentas? Yes, I do. So if you need to, this is where multiplying can come into play. And this can get really messy, so I will show an alternative here in a second. So let's see here, multiply that result by that result by that result. And I believe that gives me, wait, that gives me white. Ah, it's been a while, sorry. Okay, so this is what we're going to do then. I have, and this is if you're watching, if you know, or if you're on rather, the Hat in Time Discord server, this is what I'm going to recommend you use for beginners, just because it means like you don't have to do any of that math yourself. There it is. In the Hat in Time Discord server, I have in the modding resources thread, I have included a public Dyability kind of material function that you are more than welcome to use. It's something I think makes the process a lot easier. So let's see here. We're looking at boink. Already exists. Yeah, where is it? Okay, there it is. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. Okay, here it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy. We're going to create a copy. I just got to make sure I remember what the title of that is. HCR_cute and dangerous. So we're going to create a copy of this. I'm going to call it CND separation. I don't think you'll need to rename it as long as you're putting it into your own package, but cute and dangerous. We're going to chunk that in there. Okay, so now we have a nice material function. I'm going to copy that name to the clipboard, and now I'm going to put in that in. If you have the function selected, then just to place it down inside of your material, just hold down the F key and then click, and then it'll automatically put it in. If it says unspecified function, you probably don't have the function selected, and that's fine. Just go into the settings and then paste the name of it in. Okay, so what I just have to do here is chunk that in, and then I have an alpha value. I don't remember that at all. Interesting. I might as well put that in. I don't remember that. Okay, so now I have all of these nice little outputs automatically, which the material function is taking care of. So let's start out with figuring out where our things are going to go. So let's start plugging some player dinodes in. Might need to separate these. These are kind of close together. And it's going to need to be lerped anyways, so let's kind of stair step it a bit. There we go. One more player die. Fantastic. Okay. So now we're going to update these so I can see what colors we're working with right now. looks like. Okay. So I want, let's see here, what are we looking at here? It's been a hot minute since I actually seen what colors go where. So this is going to be a bit of an adventure while I figure this out. If I mess up a color, that's fine. I'll just redo it. Okay. We're going to go with our main colors first. I believe. So what's going to end up happening is that all these values right here, these are going to be your alphas. So we're going to chunk this in here first, and we're going to just chunk in 2 random values and hope that that's right. I don't know if it is. It's, if I'm being perfectly honest. Again, it's been a little bit of a hot minute for me. Okay, let's go back over here. This is going to be the messiest part. I'm just being real with you. I'm not editing right now, sorry. So what part is it doing? It's doing that, and that. That's a lot. Yeah, that's my den. Okay. So that's the value that I actually want to be that purplish. So let's swap that over. Okay, fantastic. So now I have my purple in place, and I have pink also in place, but we're going to now add in everything on top of it. So I believe, if I'm correct, that we're going to do that. And since our next value is yellow, I know actually where that value should go. It should be this part right here, since it's the buttons. So that would be yellow. Looking at that. So let's punch that in there. Let's punch that in there. And I mix it up. Let's put that in alpha. Sorry, A. Put that in B. There we go. Much better. Okay. And now we're just going to walk down the line. I think the lighter pink is going to end up being, it's going to be the bow tie. Where is the bow tie in this instance? Let's look for the shape. There it is, right there. It's kind of small, but it's there. That looks like it's probably blue, question mark? That's a little bit, hold on, let's zoom in. That looks like it's going to be blue, yeah. So let's try it. Let's try using blue. Where's my lerp? There it is. Plug that into the alpha, plug that into there, and plug the alpha into the blue. Okay. My next value is that kind of really light pink. So if I can find the part that's striped, which looks to be magenta, then that's what we're going to go with. That's what we're going to run. So plug that into the alpha, plug this into the A, plug that into the B. And then what do we have for the white? Is that the teal or the cyan? Sorry, it's cyan, not teal. I should have said that from the get-go. It looks like cyan, so we're going to run with cyan. Plug that into the A, plug that into the B, and check it. That looks to be correct based on the work I've been doing recently. The only thing that we haven't slotted in here would be the skin color, which I'm going to need to check later to remember what value of color that is. But right now, let's just say it's 0.5, or no, that's not 0.5, point like 0.75, 0.6, and I don't know, 0.2. Just so we have, oh, that's not a very noticeable color. Let's go with 0.8. Okay, so it's kind of like a lightish purple. Okay. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna go with that just so it's pretty clear what we're looking at. And we're gonna lerp one more time to get that skin color in. So we do already have our player skin color, but it's not actually, it needs to have a skin color to work with, and then it kind of modifies it, if I recall correctly. So let's slot that in, and then slot that in. And yeah, so now we have our nice little thing. We're gonna plug that into our diffuse here. So now our 1 minus X thing that's giving us our skin is doing double duty right now. So now we have that plugged in. We can delete these, I'm not using them anymore. And let's save that. Give it a sec. Fan-dabby-dozy. That looks to be correct. Cool. Fantastic. So now on top of this, remember when I brought up those multiplies, we're going to use one of them. I'm going to copy the name to the clipboard, but I really don't need to because I can just hold down T and then click while I have that thing selected, and bada bing, bada boom. So now I just get out my little nice multiply node, and I multiply away, and I plug that in, and this is dyeable. And now when I save it, it's going to have a lot more nice texture and detail on it. Voila. Ain't that nice? Ain't that cool? So I might need to adjust the colors because the way that Substance multiplies and the way the editor multiplies are a little bit differently. So I might add a little bit so it's a little bit more washed out and these details aren't that aggressive. But we're going to take a look-see here in a sec as I plug it in. So let's copy that. Oh, it's already on the model. Fantastic. So as you can see, we have our nice little model here. It looks like I might have been too aggressive here. That little part up there is pink. Looks like I'll need to adjust it. Oh yes, because I missed out on the black and the white part. I'll fix that in post. But this should give you a pretty good idea of what you're working with. So you got your nice like reflection, you got, sorry, not reflection, you got your roughness maps, you got your metallics, you got your normal maps, and you got some really nice detail on here. And on top of that, this is going to be a dyeable texture. So if I really quick edited the material so it didn't have this multiply node, you can get a pretty good idea of what it would look like without. Without all that detail. So now let's drag this away so I can see this. So this is what it would look like without all that detail. It still looks good. I'm not saying it doesn't. A lot of the work right now is being done by that normal map. It's making it look real nice. But those extra colors added on with that multiply node, again, purely optional. You don't have to. It makes things a lot more complicated when you do that. And I know not a lot of people are actually using Substance. That's a paid software and it's really expensive, and some people just straight up don't like Adobe. But that's not what I'm going after here. But this is just very nice, very clean. So yeah, if you got any extra questions, hit me up on the Discord. Classy times, same deal. All right, thanks.